back with another session of the Art of Confidence event, how to build unstoppable confidence and skyrocket your revenue. I am so thrilled to bring to you today Olivia Cook. She is one of our 21 amazing speakers and probably the best yet. Everyone keeps getting better and better. I've had such a good time just sitting and learning from such great coaches and consultants, and I'm excited to dive in with you, Olivia. You guys, I am Nicole Safely, the founder of I Am Fierce, and as you know, we're doing the summit all week long. If you've not caught any of the other sessions or maybe missed a couple, you can go to the artofconfidenceevent.com and register. The summit is free. All of the sessions will be available in our private Facebook group. But if you want to watch them afterwards, which I highly recommend, there's like 3 every day for 7 days. Great information. It's only $47 for you to get the recordings for a lifetime. So you're welcome to do that, but we definitely want you to tune in and engage in our Facebook group. And then we have some Ask Me Anything sessions next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that you'll be able to actually connect directly with our speakers. So with that, let's dive in. I want to introduce you to Olivia Cook. And Olivia is a certified transformational success coach. She's a keynote speaker, a podcast host, a Christian influencer, and just a connector of people. She has a passion for helping teams and individuals reach their full potential and specializes in productivity, mindset, and systems. Those are 3 things we get to get on straight. I love it. She helps clients increase their income, reduce their stress levels, and enjoy their success journey. Her podcast is called The Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered. I love it. It was made to inspire, empower, and educate. And her podcast showcases badass women from all over the world, providing tips on personal development, mindset, and healing. She started it in November of 2020, and it's actually been downloaded in over 50 countries so far. You've got amazing reach. She recently reached the top 10% global rating, and she's the co-founder of the Christian-centered brand Relentless Glory. This is a brand that's kind of unique. Her purpose is really to spread the word of God through motivation, education, and praise. And Relentless Glory is on a mission to help others discover the path to living boldly, passionately, and unapologetically to the glory of God. She's also a military wife. She's a new mother, and she's also the front of house manager at Morton Steakhouse in St. Louis. So if you want a great steak and some nice drinks, you need to go see Olivia. And most importantly, I would say of all of this, is that she's a humanitarian. Olivia, welcome. I'm so thankful that you took time to share your greatness with us today.
I am so excited to be here, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be so good because when I started stepping into this, like I was just like, oh, this is something. So I'm so excited to share that with people and help them really reach their next level of success. Because I'm telling you, if you want to take some notes, if you really want to embody what I share in this, you won't be in the same place in the next 3 months.
I got my pen and my notepad. Let's do this.
So
I know we're going to dive in and talk about the art of becoming fearless. Yeah?
Yes. So I want to first talk about what fear is. Fear is an emotion. Okay. So it comes and it goes, right? And how fast we handle that coming and going is real. This emotion is here to protect us. All right. So there's a lot of times that fear might pop up. Let's say you're getting held at gunpoint. There is going to be some fear that pops up. Okay. So this is an art of practicing not being fearless. And I'm going to go over the fear responses. There is fight, flight, freeze, and fawn approach. So the fight, you're going to fight the person that pulled the gun out on you, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to freeze up and be scared if your response is to freeze. And this is the initial response. It does not mean that you stay like this forever. It's you might fight then run away, you know? Fight, fright usually is the runaway.
Yeah.
Fawning is like, you don't want to do that. Why don't we shoot this other person or something, but trying to be nice, like, no, let's calm this down. It's so easy to understand when it's like the outside world, but what we're talking about right now is the fear you get in your mind.
Yeah, because it's not every day that you're held at gunpoint, but it is potentially a daily effort to fight fear. How do you define this type of fear?
These are your limiting beliefs. These a lot of times are attached to traumas. These are big T traumas and little t traumas. And we get a lot of little t traumas all the time, especially if you're a very emotional person, if you identify as an empath, if you like to take other people's energy on, there's a lot of little t traumas that pop up and it kind of shortens you. It's very limiting, very, very constricting. The feeling that comes with that, worry comes with that. And that's another one, but because that's the thing we're going to have to stop doing. Yeah, and these are also emotions. You have the power to control and monitor and manage your emotions.
Yes. If we're mindful. So I will share with you, I'm pretty sure I walked through the first 40 some years of my life without being mindful whatsoever about what was coming up for me. It would be in fear, people, my husband wouldn't even ask me, well, what are you thinking about when you feel fear or when you feel anxiety? I'm like, I'm not thinking about anything. Literally, it's a physical feeling. So when you talk about fight or flight and these other, ways that we handle these stresses, it's often not something that you're consciously thinking about. We're presented, and that's our lizard brain, right? We're presented with something that's scary. Back in the day, it was running away from the dinosaur. Today, the number one fear is public speaking. So I don't have to think about public speaking. You put me in front of a crowd of 100 or 1,000 people, my armpits start to sweat, my throat gets dry. That's not something I'm thinking about. It's a very visceral response. So tell me about the fear in this space when we think about entrepreneurship and, building confidence. How do you see this show up?
What I'm going to tell you is extremely simple. All of this stuff is very, very simple. The implication of this is a challenge. And this is why it's an ever becoming thing. It's an active practice. Just like I like to say, I practice the habit of being self-disciplined. It is not something that just comes and you become, and it's just what it is. No. So some of the things that might pop up is I'll share a personal limiting belief that I had pop up recently. And there's a lot of things that I have in place and a lot of work that I've done to be in the environment where I can do this. So I'm going to say that it's this act of work takes so much time. It's not an initial thing, but it is not something that's impossible. Like, I'm 30 years old. Like, this is possible, guys. Like, if I can do it, you can do it. I started, like, no lie, I worked at a Waffle House 8 years ago. So let's just not, where the limiting beliefs stop here. The excuses you tell yourself, they stop right now, because our future does not have to be anything like our past. We get to dictate where that goes. So being in the growth mindset is absolutely mandatory. Priming your mind, having your intention of what I would like to see today. It bypasses a lot of the other things, being proactive instead of reactive about what you have going on. So like I said, I had this limiting belief that popped up with my mother, that she didn't like me, that, and then I started telling myself a story like, oh, because of this, because that's what our mind will do.
Yeah, we make up stuff.
Confirmation bias. You get an idea in your brain and your brain will find every reason to agree with it. That's why two people on two different opposite sides will never agree. They can agree to disagree, but they're and if they're not willing to listen, so I was telling myself a story. Oh, well, she's doing this, not understanding that there's other things going on. So when I felt that feeling, it was sadness. It was very limiting. It was a very constricting feeling in the physical body. It made me like, it was definitely very little girl. I wanted to cry. So I cried like right in the moment. And I videoed a friend that I can be open and authentic with, because I do not believe that we can really do life by ourselves. So whether that friend is a therapist or a coach or whoever that person that can be to hold you accountable, to tell you what lies are there, that's the faster you get through these things.
I love that you called it a lie. Right? Like we look at these things and we do make up stories, and you have to ask yourself, where's the truth in this? And being really honest with yourself. And sometimes you're exactly right, having somebody else to kind of call you on your stuff.
And that it's not easy to be that vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But let me just let you know, it's better. It's better to just be vulnerable, have the good people in your life, and be able to have the authentic relationships. You're going to die one day, whenever that time is. And you're going to look back on your life, and you're going to look back and be like, did I enjoy what I had? Did I have the amazing relationship that I wanted to with my spouse when I could? Did I take the trips? Did I spend the time with my children? Did I go after what I really wanted to do? Or did I let fear hold me back? Did I let limiting beliefs hold me back? Did I let somebody's opinion of me hold me back? A lot of people got a fear of rejection.
Yeah.
You ain't for everybody, and everybody is not for you.
Yeah.
Point blank, period. Some will like you, some won't like you. And so what?
So what?
Keep moving. Like,
and it's easy. I mean, I will say, for me, it's easy to say that until I'm in the heat of the big thing, and I think that for me, it was being able to recognize and not just react, so respond. The kind of that notion of sensing and responding. So being in tune with our feelings. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what are some strategies when I find myself in it? How do I do that? Because it's easy when we sit here. Oh yeah, just forget it.
Oh yes. This is why it's an art of becoming. You got to practice this. You got to be in the moment. When you're arguing with your spouse, you know what I'm saying? When your partner, your people, you've got to take the moment to be like, stop. Let me take 5 minutes and take a break. Let me do some breath work. Doing the body scans, getting your mind right, priming yourself in the morning, understanding that you're looking for me. I'm going to just give you the rundown of all the crazy things I do. In the morning, I start with God, and I start just pouring into me, because guess what? I cannot be my biggest enemy. I have too much of an impact to make to be my biggest enemy. I can't be talking myself down. I have to hype myself up, because guess what? Life will life. The things will come. So I can't be fighting with me. So pouring into me in the morning, doing breath work, box breathing, 4 seconds in through your nose, hold for 4 seconds, 4 seconds out through your nose. I learned this from a Chinese medicine doctor, in a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, as well as she has 2 clinics in Portugal. And so she gives all these different rituals and everything. I'm so intentional with my morning, my different rituals that I have. But she says the nose is for breathing, especially for women. This is a virtual summit for women. So Wim Hof, a lot of people do his breath work, and it's great. It's a great, but for women, it's a little different. So just keeping that in mind, but your nose is for breathing, your mouth is for eating. So
that's also an etiquette thing too, by the way. I'm kidding.
That is, yes.
And yeah, don't chew gum. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah, I do the breath work. When I start to feel tense, I change the state. I do one hard thing. I finish my showers cold, ice cold.
Oh yeah.
Every single day, because it gets me to change the state that I'm in. I'm doing a hard thing. I'm proving to myself that I can do a hard thing. So it gets you to realize it's a part of just priming your mind, limiting your time on social media. If you start to notice that you're comparing yourself to other people, it's time to get off. Boom. Don't be on there. Don't. And hear me out when it comes to the comparison thing. Don't you want good things to happen for people? Like deep down, you want good things to happen for people. So when you see good things happen for people, you should know that good things can also happen for you. And it's great to see somebody else be blessed.
Yes.
Because you don't want bad things for them.
Right.
You know, like I don't want bad things for my friends, but you know, if your friend gets like a new car and it's like, oh, dang, I want a new car.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
But then that jealousy pops up. It does.
Yeah.
It's real. It's real.
Well, and I think you talked about being mindful, you know, like if you know where you're going, then it's not as likely that you'll be feeling that way when someone else has something. Because that if you've defined what you want, maybe you don't really want the Mercedes. Maybe you actually want a BMW or what, you know, a Chevy. I don't care. But if you know what you've got going on, then it doesn't matter what somebody else has going on. I think when you yourself are not clear on your direction and your purpose, we all have challenges, but I think if you don't have that clarity, that's when we start to look at what other people and start to try to maybe even live their lives instead of living your best life, you know?
A lot of people are trying to be that girl. A lot of people, and I say that because I watch people like all the time. They'll take so many pictures looking so happy for social media.
Yeah.
There's an increased amount of comparison. Suicide rates have gone up. I don't think that the way that social media is going, I don't even think people are as aware of how they interact on social media. And I caught myself doing this during COVID because I'd just been online.
Right.
And I started looking at this person and making up stories about them. I know that this is like a little weird, but it's like willing to address how you're thinking, stepping out of yourself and looking back in. Because sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it.
Right.
You know, that is how our mind is working. And I know I've just heard that being such a thing for people is they're afraid that they're not on the right timeline. You know, and they see other people get things and they're just like, oh man, that's a fear to not be in the place that they should be. Honey, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Understanding that you're exactly where you're supposed to be in the present moment. You're on the right path. You're doing the right things. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing the work. You're here at a summit, working on confidence, working on becoming fearless, working on all of these things. You're going to do it. You have every capability of taking yourself in the moment and be like, oh, hold up. Am I doing this right? And you can be reflective. You know, you can be like, what did I do right today? Is today a win? Or did I just survive? We didn't lose. You're not dead. Okay. You're not.
Live another day, right? There's always another chance to start again, even if it wasn't what you wanted it to be. But being purposeful about that, right? Am I actually looking at what's happening, inspecting the outcomes I'm getting, and asking the question, what's next, right?
And understanding, like looking at your resume of the past things, you've gotten through every single hard day in your life. You have overcome all of the things in the past that you didn't think that you could. So what's to say that it won't get better? You won't get wiser. You won't get stronger. A lot of the fears that we have are, I'm afraid of getting hurt. I'm afraid of getting embarrassed. Pretty soon, you will stop caring about other people's opinions. You will understand that your purpose is so much more important than what the world says about you. And you know what? The people that say the most don't do anything. Like, don't listen to them. They're miserable. Absolutely miserable. They're more focused on you than they are on their own lives.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter what they say. And it hurts when it's family. It does. That's okay. You'll get over it.
I do see a lot of people, you know, like what happens when my family doesn't support my business? And It's interesting because if we started a traditional business, you're in the restaurant business, you open a restaurant, yeah, you're going to have a grand opening and you're going to invite your friends and family, but they're not going to be the ones that sustain that business. And so, taking that out and letting, your clientele be your measure, am I hitting the nail on the head with what they need? And then, if it's not, you don't get to give up. You get to just explore something else, right? And maybe even ask them, okay, that wasn't it. What do you need? I'd be happy to serve, right? But we get wrapped up in that fear of failure, fear of embarrassment, fear of not. You talk about the growth mindset. I'll tell you, my biggest fear is I actually recognize that I have a fixed mindset, or in the past I have had. It's something I have to work on. Fixed mindset is really about, I believe I was born with gifts and skills and I'll use those, but the things that I'm not good at, my blind spot is that I don't try them. And so in my business, I've always been afraid that if I get started, I know I have some goodness to give today, but then what? And in a growth mindset, I know, like you said, you've got everything you need. What you're going to need tomorrow will be revealed to you. I can grow, I can learn new things. So that fixed mindset really has, hampered my success in the past. But recognizing it, I can do something different. How do you work with people in that space? And when the fear comes up, like, how do we handle it? Is there techniques that you use? You talked about the box breathing, the cold shower. What else do you do to get your set space?
Sometimes when I'm feeling extremely anxious and our clients feeling extremely anxious, EFT tapping, it really, and saying what you need, and doing all of that, that helps to tap things out. Dancing, letting out the energy that because if you're feeling restricted, you need to let it go, and getting in power stances. If you don't have that much time, like if you don't have like time for a whole dance party, go ahead, go into a room, 2 minutes. You just need 2 minutes. Do the breath work, do the power stance of what empowerment looks like to you. Usually it's out and freeing, and like it's not this. It is a lot more of this, and letting it go and flexing and doing whatever you feel to be powerful.
So I can like,
yes, we can. But whatever it is that you feel to be powerful, doing the breath work in that, changing, coming up with your intention, stating a few affirmations. I'm so excited for what is planned for me today. I'm so excited to see the blessings come my way. I'm so excited to see what's next. I would love to see how I could grow from this, and literally looking at every situation as a blessing or a lesson. As soon as something negative happens, what can I learn from this? When you're ready, like sometimes you got to take a little emotional break, address the feelings, like I was saying before, get somebody to call them out if you need that, or at least write it down, journal it and identify it. Journaling is I love to journal, because sometimes, you get to the point, like I've gotten to goodness, it was 2021 and I was dealing with some trauma, some childhood trauma about being molested, and I couldn't talk. I felt so unsafe, like protected, because I was allowing all of these feelings to just come up, and I was just very upset, and I couldn't speak. I was in that state of a child of like, why didn't they not protect me? I felt so much like a victim in that moment. And that's okay to acknowledge and address that. We don't stay in, thriving mindset all the time. Like that's just unrealistic. I'm not trying to give anybody unrealistic hope, but addressing these things as they pop up, all I could do was write. All I could do, I couldn't say to my husband what I was going through in the moment. Like who was asking me what's wrong, truly being that partner that's supportive, and he doesn't want to see me hurting. Like, I couldn't talk to him in that state because I did not have
Didn't
words.
express it. Yeah.
All I had was tears. And so, but I did, when I started writing, have the words, and I've known a lot of other clients that has worked for as well. So there's a lot of different tools in the toolbox that come into play depending on how severe the things are. I also challenge people to increase their stress capacity. You need to have a capacity of which the place that you're going. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and knowing who you are and what you want to do. I look at this job and everything I'm doing right now as training season. So many people are like, how are you doing all the things? Oh no, like it's really fun. I take it day by day and I go time by time.
Yeah.
I'm in the moment when I'm there, that's just what it is. The time's allotted for it. Does life? Oh, of course, I've got a newborn. Like, I live in
Get to be improvising all the time.
But understanding that I can handle anything that comes up against me because I have in the past, and I will continue to do so. And I state that I'm divinely protected. I feel that way. Like I don't fear things because I feel protected. And when you feel that way on the inside, the outside world doesn't seem so scary.
Yeah.
And it's not like I don't deal with like stressful things. Like somebody passed out in my restaurant yesterday.
Yeah, that's never good.
I've had to break up fights between grown-ass men. Like when I was working at Waffle House, you know what I'm saying? Like I've dealt with I've dodged bullets since the age of 15, like at parties that I would go to. Like people would be shooting at almost every single party I would go to. So this is not coming from like somebody who has a perfect life. Like
I have been at one party like that. I was working and that hadn't been my life. And I was like, I'm done with this. I would not, like, how in the world? But yeah, you figure out your situation and you just figure it out, right? And it makes us better people for having those experiences. Oh my gosh. And yeah, we're all in different places and different things that come up that we have to navigate through and work through. And everybody's walk is different, but it is our walk, right?
Yeah. And you cannot allow for fear to stop you from your success. Like somebody needs you to step into your purpose so they can step into theirs. Like they need you to be what you are here to be. So you're doing the right thing by being here. I'm just going to let you know that you're doing the right thing. You're taking the right step. And I just, it's an art of practicing it. It's not something that happens overnight.
And I love that you bring that up. Thank you. The art of being fearless, becoming fearless, fearless, the becoming. And it is always a becoming. I don't think you ever arrive. And fear is actually an emotion that serves us, right? It isn't built into us to warn us of things of danger. It's just that we don't live in the wilderness anymore and we don't have those natural threats. And so our brains create, things that seem like that, but they're not that. And so it's that sensing and using these tools. I heard you talk about box breathing, cold showers, tapping, which I've only done one session of tapping and I would love to learn more. Dancing. We should host a dance party. And then journaling and being able to get those thoughts out of your head and just letting it flow. Right. Similar to you, Olivia, 2 years ago, I had engaged a coach and I was in a space where I was just recreating the same pattern literally for years. I was not reaching the success that I wanted in my business. And I just had this drive. I knew I wanted to do this thing, but I could not do it. I mean, I could not, whether it was, getting diverted or procrastination or whatever. So I engaged with this guy. The first one, actually, I told him about my life that I thought was wonderful. He's like, that's effed up. I'm like, oh, somebody said that to me? No, I was so mad. I totally did not believe him. I was mad. I got off the phone. I was not hiring him as a coach. And then a few minutes later, I started bursting out in tears. because in the subconscious level, I knew he was exactly right. And it was about 6 months later that I was like, okay, I do need to engage a coach, but I was still thinking business stuff. We get in there, he's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And it was hypnotherapy coaching, but he said, and business coaching, we'll go where it takes us. And it ended up in childhood trauma, not just my own, but my family, and just a ton of stuff. And at that point I was 48. Life, like you said, life. Sometimes we have to, and he asked me, he's like, are you ready to do the work? And, we show up when we're ready, and we can look at those things, and I'm sure you weren't sitting around thinking, oh, I need to look into this childhood molestation. What's that? It probably just popped up in some feeling at one point, I would imagine. And then you're like, oh, what's there?
I've had so many things pop up so early on in my life. And I understand, because I started this journey so, when I was 27, but really mindset stuff when I was 23, because I started that at that, but I lost my father at 20 and I had to pay for his funeral, I lived with a guy and I was in an abusive relationship. I had a lot of stuff that I had to unpack quickly, because I'm like, I cannot let this limit me.
Keep going.
I've got, so it was like, okay, I've got to handle this and I have to handle it now. I had to make healing a priority. And just like you had to make healing a priority. When you're ready to do the work, it usually will pop up unless you ignore it.
Yeah.
And it'll still pop up.
Yeah, it does. I wish I had done mine when I was in my 20s. That would have been ideal, but it all comes together in the right time. So I think that message out of this, at least that I'm getting, is number one, you get to start today on the becoming. And there are definitely tools to use, and that just giving yourself some grace that it doesn't just happen. It's a constant practice. You said you've got daily habits that condition you, and then the things that you rely on when you get in those moments of fear and stress. And the biggest takeaway, what would you say the biggest point that you'd like to wrap this up with the ladies in the conference is around becoming fearless?
Ma'am, I need you to stop negotiating with yourself.
Ooh.
Okay? Stop that. You have to understand your worth and who you are and what you're here to do. And don't allow for fear to stop you from your success.
All right. I don't think we could say it any better than that. Just stop. The world needs you. Thank you, Olivia. I know that you have quite a few different things that you offer to your clients, and I'd love to know, for our listeners, how could they begin to, get a little sample of your goodness, and how do they interact with you and know more about what you do and provide?
So if you definitely like my vibe, my just tell it like it is, this is how I am.
100%
vibe. The Empowered Woman, Badass and Unfiltered podcast is for you. If you are just out for some Christian motivation, Relentless Glory, myself and my partner Jamie just pour into people. So that's a little more censored and nice. Not censored per se, but because we do challenge some beliefs. And I did add a productivity planner for those of you that are busy and you kind of want to track a little more of what you have going on. I do have a menstrual cycle tracker or mood tracker in there, so you can start to see the habits in your life. And this works for women of all ages, because it's not just everybody has a cycle. Women have cycles even after estrus. So
my husband would probably tell you I needed that a long time ago as a joke. He's like, I'm pretty sure this is the day.
But it's nice to know when your temper is gonna just be a little short, and you just need to have a little more self-care, and you need to just not have all the meetings. It's nice to know that, to just be like, I'm just not gonna plan a whole bunch this week. And I'll do it on the weeks that I have more energy, but understanding what your energy is helps you work with it better.
Yeah. And, as you say that, I think about not fighting it too. being a woman is not an easy task, and that is a repairing cycle in our body, and so just again, learning to be intentional about how you embrace it and treating yourself well. That's interesting. I love that you're putting that, and you have that in the productivity tracker, so you can actually recognize when you're at your height and when you should take rest and care. Yeah. Awesome. So you guys, we'll put the link to the productivity tracker in the show notes. Olivia, thank you so much for being here. I do vibe with your energy. I love it. Just call it how it is. Sometimes you just need that. And we need a friend or a coach or a therapist, somebody to hold us to a higher, our higher selves and where we want to go and those goals. And if you're not showing up, you're not showing up. Tell me about it. So thank you so much for bringing that energy. You guys, if you have missed any of our sessions, we have 21 amazing speakers who have so graciously taken their time to share with you, words of wisdom. This is just a sprinkling of what they do in their professions. And I encourage you to get on, watch some of the sessions, go to the Art of Confidence event and artofconfidenceevent.com. Register. You can get the recordings and join us in the private Facebook group so we can interact. We also have the Ask Me Anything sessions at the end of the week. You want to look for that schedule because we'll have all of our speakers, most of them, coming in to meet with you live. You can pick their brain, ask the questions, and really go deeper. And I think, Olivia, you're definitely somebody that we're like, okay, tell me more. So excited. All right, my friend, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right.